Holiday travel season is almost here, but this year is going to look a little bit different with surging COVID-19 cases across the country. People may be staying home and are actually urged to stay home for the holidays to not see other people, which would make things a little different on the roadways and air travel. Joining me now is AAA's Sergio Avila, and you guys just released a forecast for what to expect for traveling this year. What can we expect?
Yeah, throughout the country, we're expecting at least a 10% drop nationwide when it comes to Thanksgiving travel. In California, even more so, about a 13% drop compared to 2019. So right now, AAA Northern California is forecasting about 6.2 million Californians will be expected to travel, and that's compared to 7.2 million from last year.
So when is the last time you've seen this kind of drop on the roadways?
This type of significant drop for Thanksgiving travel season hasn't been seen since the 2008 Great Recession. So it's been quite a while, but if you think where we were then and where we are now, there are some similarities when you look at it.
So people obviously are concerned about, saving money, staying home, and of course being safe. For those folks who are traveling, what's going to be the mode of transportation? Most likely driving, or will they choose to fly?
Yeah, absolutely. What we've noticed from travelers that there's a sort of wait and see approach, as people kind of gauge what's going on with the pandemic, gauge their level of risk. So that's the type of trend that we've been noticing. As far as taking road trips, of course, that's going to be what is most heavily used for the Thanksgiving holiday. About 92% of Californians are expected to take a road trip. And really, it gives travelers just a more sense of comfort that they'll be traveling in their own vehicle.
So if you do decide to take a road trip, if you are getting out and going to go see family and so forth, what are some of the things you can do to stay safe while traveling?
Yeah. What the number one thing that you can do is if you haven't been driving your vehicle as much as you used to, make sure it is serviced, make sure you have a mechanic or someone look over your vehicle to make sure it's ready for a long drive. And the other thing we're advising travelers to do if they feel comfortable traveling is to really research your destination. Depending on if that's a hotel or maybe you're visiting family, there are different restrictions across state lines, different things are happening. So we really encourage travelers to do their research, find out exactly what's going on in their destination. That way they can prepare for that scenario.
So as far as traffic goes, though, I mean, with not a lot of people hitting the roadways, we're obviously not going to see the kind of numbers we typically see on that Wednesday before Thanksgiving or even that Tuesday for traveling. But in the urban areas, do you think will still see some traffic in peak hours?
Yeah, absolutely. AAA Northern California is forecasting that Wednesday, the Wednesday before Thanksgiving, as is typical, will be the heaviest traffic that you'll see right around the afternoon time. We expect drivers can see about 30% more traffic during that time. But, you and I spoke last year and we were talking about 2 to 3 times more traffic that was going to be on the road. So compared to that, this is pretty negligible.
Right. So you'll at least probably get through a lot faster than you normally do. So if you are traveling, you'll have less cars on the roadway. Have you noticed just a big difference in general? I mean, I cover traffic every single morning, and obviously since March there was hardly anyone on the roadways. Now I have to say we're getting not quite to 100% of what our traffic patterns were, or capacity or volume, but it's certainly getting a lot busier out there.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's happened, throughout several areas. As restrictions began to be loosened, people felt a little more comfortable with going out. You saw traffic begin to increase, but now, especially in California, the travel advisory, people may be pulling back.
Well, hopefully, however you decide to hit the roadways, you stay safe and, of course, follow the guidelines that are issued by CDC. And yeah, take it easy on the roadways as always. I know with a lot less cars out there, a lot of people think those roadways you can go just a little faster than usual since there's not a lot of traffic. But I say don't do that.
Yeah, that's a good idea. We have noticed several California Highway Patrol and other highway patrols throughout the country have noticed an increase in people speeding. So, don't do it. It's a risk that's really unnecessary.
And before I let you go, for those folks who are flying, even though you're not hitting going to the airport with as many people as you typically do, it's still probably a good idea to get there early because of all the restrictions that are in place.
Yeah, and again, this goes back to what I said about just researching your trip, and so call your airline or find out what's happening with your airline, find out what's happening at the airport, just so you can prepare for things that if you haven't traveled since the pandemic began or since shutdowns began, you get a better sense of what's going on, how much time it might take for you to make that flight.
All right, Sergio from AAA, thank you so much for joining us and for all this great information.